Hello and welcome to the Kim Iverson Show. Thank you guys so much for being here. Welcome back from the weekend. I hope you guys all had a great one. I'm feeling a lot better, thank goodness. Last week I was pretty sick and just still suffering the lingering effects of illness, but I am back mostly, not quite 100%, but I'm pretty good. So it's going to be a great week. We've got a lot to cover. There's a lot that happened. I want to start off the show tonight talking about Scott Ritter, and I believe I'm also hearing reports that this happened to Judge Napolitano as well. But apparently they were traveling to Russia, got pulled out of the airport, the passports confiscated, and now they can't travel. Here is the article from RT that was reporting on this. U.S. seizes Scott Ritter's passport. He's a RT contributor, so they say the RT contributor was stopped from visiting Russia. The U.S. State Department has seized the passport of former Marine and UN weapons inspector Scott Ritter, he told RT on Monday. Ritter was on his way to Russia for the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum when he's pulled off the plane and had his documents confiscated. He said, quote, "I was boarding the flight. 3 police officers pulled me aside. They took my passport. When asked why, they said, orders of the State Department. They had no further information for me," Ritter told RT. "They pulled my bags off the plane, then escorted me out of the airport. They kept my passport." He says, it goes on to say, Ritter is a former U.S. Marine Corps intelligence officer who later served as a U.S. and UN weapons inspector in Iraq. He's also an RT contributor writing about international security, military affairs, Russia, and the Middle East, as well as arms control and non-proliferation. He most recently visited Russia in January, spending time in Chechnya, Moscow, and St. Petersburg, among other places. The most recent post on Ritter's Telegram channel put the Clooney Foundation for Justice on notice for its alleged crusade against Russian propagandists. He says, quote, "Here I am in your face. If telling the truth about Russia makes me a propagandist in your book, then I accept the title," he wrote. "Bring it on. I'll school you on the First Amendment. You have zero concept of what free speech is. Try and arrest me and you'll find out in spades. It's war," he added. Sounds like Scott Ritter. He's, we've had him on the show many times, and this is the type of, this is the type of stuff he'd say. So interesting that he was pulled out of the airport and they kept his passport. Why would they do that is the big question. We're not actually at war with Russia, despite what our political class believes, despite what they're trying to make us all believe. We're not actually at war with Russia. We're just supporting Ukraine in their war against Russia, but we're not actually at war. So why would they stop Scott Ritter? Maybe the judge as well. Like I said, I'm just hearing reports on that, but I'm not 100% certain. But I do know that Scott Ritter had this happen to him. Why would they pull his passport? Why would they prevent him from being able to travel to Russia? Russia's not, now Russians cannot, we don't have direct flights from Russia to the United States. That's also something that I take issue with, considering we're not actually at war with Russia. That should be a problem for all of us. But nonetheless, Russians can still travel to this country. They just have to go through Istanbul, Turkey, or they have to go through Asia or Dubai. I mean, they've got to figure out a way to get here. They just can't take a direct flight into Europe, and they can't take direct flights into the United States. But the travel between the two citizens is still allowed. And United States citizens have been able to go to Russia and vice versa. So why would suddenly the State Department decide to halt Scott Ritter from being able to travel? The only thing I can think of is he's under investigation. And that's, maybe we'll learn more about this. What type of investigation would he be under? My assumption in this is that they must be investigating him, thinking that he's, some sort of a Russian asset. How is somebody a Russian asset? That's a good question that we should all be asking, is what qualifies a person to become a Russian asset according to the government? Is it because he takes money from RT, which is Russia Today, as a contributor? He writes and goes on camera and talks on their outlet. Well, a lot of people do that for foreign outlets, BBC, Sky News. I mean, there's plenty of different foreign outlets that many Americans work for, contribute to, appear on. We're not at war with them. We're not at war with Russia. So it should all be okay. There's nothing barring us from being able to go and speak around the world and speak even to outlets that are owned by foreign governments. So, are they saying that, well, he's a Russian asset because he works for RT? Is he a Russian asset because he goes to Russia and criticizes the United States involvement in the war? Does that make somebody a Russian asset? It's going to be really interesting to see what grounds they have to essentially ban Scott Ritter from being able to travel anywhere in the world. They've taken his passport. So not only can he not go to Russia, he can't go anywhere. We'll follow the story. We'll try to follow up with Scott and see if there's any information that he could give us. Of course, these types of investigations, if that's what's happening, are sensitive. A lot of times they're advised by their attorneys that they can't say much because it might put them in jeopardy. But we're certainly going to follow this. But this is just another, I cannot believe this war is still going on. I know many of us feel this way, that this war is a losing battle, but the U.S. is still just using Ukraine and making them fight to the last Ukrainian. In fact, I want to show you some videos of Ukrainians who have been forcibly conscripted now. So Ukraine passed a law just a couple of weeks ago. Here's one of the videos.
Бля, чого ж маршрутка не стане? Всі сигналять. Вставайте, блядь, робіть щось.
You can see there.
Диви, що роблять, ну. Ти подиви на цих сук. Диви.
There they are. They're grabbing this
Та хто ж
guy.
піде тоді воювати таким образом, ну?
You can see him just grabbing this guy, trying to get him into the car. He's running off. Forced conscription now. I mean, really, truly forced. Okay, let's show another one.
Диви,
Go
Наташку
ahead and show the
вдарив.
next one.
Не надо так делать.
Look at this.
Успокойся, что он уже кричит, блин.
Полицию!
Не, люди, не калечьте человека!
Да он уже! Документ!
Где он мобилизованный? Пацаны, ну что вы делаете в натуре?
This is like a mom trying to stop her son from being started off to war.
Так решите вопрос нормально.
Уже приказ!
Да что вы делаете?
Покажите приказ! Покажите!
We have another one. Oh, the other one. There it is. Shoving this guy in the car. So Ukraine started doing this forced conscription. We're seeing a lot of these videos that are starting to come out where people are being literally forced into conscription because Ukraine just recently passed legislation that went into effect about 2 weeks ago that puts a requirement on all men between the ages of 18 and 60 years old. 60 years old, 18 to 60 years old. These men are required to register with Ukraine's military and to carry their registration documents on them at all times. So you know they're not doing well in this war if they're saying all the way up to 60 years old need to carry military registration documents and register with the Ukrainian military all the way up to 60 years old. You know that they're not doing a great job. You also know that it's not going well when they have to actually forcibly conscript. I mean, when we think of forcible conscription, we think of usually that they're sticking your name on the registration and they're going to call you up and they're going to say, hey, you got to go. But they're really forcing these guys, literally, physically, by force, sticking them in the cars. They've also banned any Ukrainian men abroad from renewing their visas or passports in the foreign consulates. They have to register to serve, to go back to Ukraine and serve in their military. So the war isn't going well. I mean, that's when you get to this point where you're literally forcing people into cars and driving them off while their mother's trying to grab them and keep you from taking them away, thinking she's never going to see her boy again. You know it's not good. You know the war isn't going so well. But here we are doubling down, now allowing Ukraine to hit targets inside of Russia. Ukraine has been at this point hitting a lot of some of the Russian air defense systems. Russia is saying that this could result in fatal consequences, is the term that they used. The Moscow's deputy foreign minister said that the U.S. would face fatal consequences if it allowed Ukraine to use American weapons for attacks inside Russia. But right now, what the U.S. is doing is allowing Ukraine to hit targets within Russia only if they pose an immediate threat to Ukrainian forces. So that would be, places where they're launching the missiles from. They're allowed to try to target those locations, which, hey, I think it's fair enough. In war, you should be able to somehow try to disarm the other side. I just don't think this war should be continuing to go on. And I certainly don't think that the United States should be funding this and continuing to egg this on when men are being literally forcibly dragged into their cars. And now we've got Americans who are trying to travel to Russia and they're confiscating their passports. I mean, this is just getting truly bizarre and out of hand. When are they going to wake up and say, we can't continue? Really, look, the United States government, I don't have any faith in any of our political leaders. They will continue this war forever if it's up to them. The real shame is on Zelensky. The real shame is on Ukraine. It's really their fault. As much as the U.S. can egg them on and bully them into it and try to get them to continue this war forever and ever and ever, it is up to the Ukrainian government to actually say, no, we're not going to sacrifice our people anymore. We're not going to continue fighting to the last Ukrainian. We're not going to continue doing this. Ukraine seems to have been holding on this whole time, hoping that NATO would actually join into the war and actually send troops. And that just hasn't happened. But it seems that Ukraine has kind of taken on this, or Zelensky even has taken on this idea of, well, if we keep fighting and they keep seeing our men killed and we run out of guys and now we're conscripting up to 60 years old, they'll have no choice but to throw in their own because they're next and they keep screaming that they're next, right? That's what they're hearing from the West. Ukraine keeps hearing from Western leaders that, well, Ukraine is doing this noble thing by fighting Russia for us, because if they get past Ukraine, then they're coming for the rest of us. So Ukraine's hearing that message and thinking, all right, then you're going to start sending some troops and helping us out. So I think they've stuck around in the battle thinking that that's what was going to happen. That hasn't happened. I can't imagine it happening very easily or anytime soon. I think there would be a big public revolt on that. But just when I think that people are coming to their senses and realizing this war is a loss and that we need to stop funding it, we need to stop pushing it, they just continue and they're upping, they're just upping the whole situation. So, but ultimately the blame falls on Ukraine at the end of the day. As much as the United States is complicit in this, the blame falls on Ukraine. They should say, screw you, we're negotiating, we're not going to do this anymore. We're not going to sacrifice our people. But that's not what they're saying. Thank you for watching this clip from the full Kim Iversen show, which you could catch just by heading to that link down below, KimIversonShow.com. You can watch the full show from what you just watched, or you could catch the full show live Monday through Friday, live streams, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern at KimIversonShow.com. See you then. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Never miss an episode. Never miss a clip. Never miss a segment. Thanks, guys.